Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I wanted to do a video review of this Black+Decker combination. It's both a lawnmower and a weed whacker. This is a really cool unit, and I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to get this. I'll talk about some of the pros, the cons, and just my overall thoughts. So I originally decided to pick up this unit because I was living in a smaller home that was basically almost like a condo where I had a pretty small yard. It was almost like 15 feet by 15 feet. We had a small fire pit, so I had some work where I needed the ability to have something where I needed the weed whacker, but at the same time, I needed the ability to actually cut the lawn as well. But it wasn't a huge lawn where I needed to be extensively going all over the place, doing really far distances. So for me, this was something that actually worked perfect for having a small area or small lawn where I have the ability to plug something in. In my case, inside my garage, we had some outlets, and I just took an outdoor extension cable that wrapped around pretty much like a loop. I don't know if I have it here somewhere, I'd show it, but it's pretty much like 100-foot cable that I was able to plug into this, and I could easily get that to go around my whole yard, no problem. So the fact that this needed to be plugged in was not really a con to me. Took a little bit more time to set up, but really was very minor. Overall, the unit itself, the idea of this is that you have this base station that this weed whacker actually sits in. So I'll show this in a second. But this whole part here where you've got the shroud where I'm pointing is basically the weed whacker, and the rest of this is just a plastic shroud that it sits in. Normally, if you were to go out and try to cut your lawn with the weed whacker, obviously, you're going to be all over the place, you're not going to get even cuts. But this allows you to put this into this piece, and this black part, which you can kick up with your foot, will actually latch into the back of the weed whacker portion and keep this stabilized. The other cool thing with this is you can change the settings, which you can actually see here. There's settings where you can lower and raise this. So if you want to change the height of how you're actually going about cutting the grass, you have that option. This has 4 pretty sturdy plastic wheels. I did have one issue with this, which actually was kind of concerning, caused a little bit of problems for me, but hopefully this would not happen to you. I ended up losing, you can see here I put tape over it to hold it in place, but I lost one of these plastic pieces, and I found out, trying to contact Black+Decker, they actually did not have these parts available where you could just readily get one. So what was happening is because this came off, there's basically just a metal rod that goes all the way through. And because this piece fell off on the side, the wheel would actually fall off while I was cutting the lawn. So it's pretty annoying. You can kind of continue using it, but it really wasn't as designed. The only other thing I'd say about this unit is, and something to make sure you're very aware of, this can extend based on the settings here. So if you have this too low, if you look at it right now, I'm about 5'10", and I can reach the handle with my arm, but I'm at a point where I'm pretty much going to be slouching down to cut the lawn. So definitely make sure that you've got the settings on this. I had it just very low when I was doing some weed whacking. It has a really nice plastic handle here, both for cutting the lawn and for using the weed whacker itself. But I'll actually pull this out to show the weed whacker portion. Pretty much you just hit this down, that piece releases, and then this comes up, and you can see there's 2 plastic pieces there on the left and the right that hook this in alongside this piece that hooks into that. So it's pretty easy to take this in and out of the unit. And then really, all that you're using to cut the grass is this string here that will spin. The unit itself is, I would say fairly loud for an electrical unit, but works extremely well. I never had any issues hitting really big weeds. As you can see, I've used the unit quite a bit. The weed whacker itself is very light, so it's actually pretty fun to use. It doesn't feel like you're carrying something that's really heavy. If you had to go do a bunch of work, we're going to be utilizing this. You're not going to have any problems feeling like you're exhausted because the unit just doesn't feel extremely heavy, right? So overall, I think it's a really good buy for the price. Besides the fact that I had that little issue with the wheel, I think it's been a really, really good buy. I eventually ended up actually upgrading to this other unit here, which I'm now using. It's a Sun Joe that I'm now using for my lawn because I've got a much bigger lawn. This property has a massive 3-car garage that then spans the yard, expands way out over there, and then way out into the front here. So using something like this really isn't going to be all that efficient. And I would say something to keep in mind is that if you're going to be in a situation where you're going to need to use this weed whacker, and maybe you've got to get to weeds, like in my case, I have a fence that's back there. It's probably like 50 feet away. I'm not going to go plug in an extension cord and run it all the way across my yard. But if you have a really small yard and you really don't need to go all that far, or maybe there's a specific area in your yard where you don't need to go that far, just go grab a 100-foot cable, get it on a roller, and have that readily available so you can plug it in. You could potentially even just plug it in inside your house because the cable will be long enough. And you could save a lot of money picking this up versus something that's going to be $200 to $300, or going and buying a gas unit that you have to maintain and deal with all the time. So overall, I really love the unit. I'd say it's a good buy depending on your situation. If you guys enjoy this review, you found this helpful, I'm actually going to leave a link below where you can pick this up on Amazon. And if you decide to do that, I'll earn a small commission and you guys will pay the same, but it'll help me out. So I definitely appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this helpful.